Good afternoon, welcome to the UK Column Live. It's just gone noon on the 12th of the 12th, 2012. Myself and Mike are doing the show today, the dream team. Morning.
Yeah, right.
You're starting the show today.
Aren't you mentioning the weather?
Oh, the weather, it's very cold today. We looked out the window, we've been outside, and it's very, very cold down here in Devon, but very sunny. So, long range forecast, I think more of the same.
Yeah, or something.
Or something.
Right, well, we're starting with a newly identified lizard. A newly identified lizard has been identified by Nicholas Longrich, who works for Yale Department of Geology and Geophysics. I have to say, you know, many people have identified lizards within politics for quite some time now.
Indeed they have.
So he has decided to name this lizard Obamodon gracilis.
Okay.
Obamodon gracilis. So it's named in honour of President Obama.
In honour, right.
Longrich claims that it's not been named there's no political significance to it, but clearly there is.
I like the picture that they've used, the Obama dinosaur chasing the little ones away.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there you go. Obama is a lizard.
Okay.
But I think we knew that.
We did know that. Next.
And speaking of the devil, the US is now formally recognising the Syrian Opposition, despite the fact that they have, prescribed one of the organisations that makes up the Syrian Opposition. That's the Al-Nusra Front for the People of the Levant, as it's called, which is an Al-Qaeda terrorist front. But despite that, the US is now recognising the opposition. But of course, William Hague has been recognising the opposition for quite some time, as we know, and he's actually in.
Syria?
No, he's not in Syria. He is in North Africa. What's the name of the country? Oh my goodness, right, doesn't matter. He's joined representatives of 130 countries, which make up the Friends of Israel, the Friends of Syria grouping. And of course they are supporting the Syrian opposition. But in the meantime, this lady, Ukrainian journalist Anhar Kochnevna, I can't pronounce it, excuse me. She was kidnapped by the Syrian opposition some time ago for writing stories, basically criticising them. They are now threatening to murder her within the next 24 hours unless the Russian Federation and the Ukrainian government stump up some cash.
Well, that's not going to happen, is it?
So that pretty much says it all. This is the opposition that our government and the American government are supporting. They are terrorists, and no more to be said.
Well, if she... well, I think Russia's going to have something to say if she does get murdered. But they're not going to stump up the cash to get her out, though, are they?
We should have something to say about it as well. We should not be supporting this crowd. Okay, and moving on quickly, because we've got a lot to get through.
We have got a lot to get to, yeah. The British Defence Minister Andrew Robertson has refused to unveil the secrecy surrounding the UK drone operations in the Middle East, despite new evidence that the use of drones is being negatively impacted on as a result of operations' poor training. A leaked military probe recently revealed Britain's poor performance on training and selection of operators who are controlling the unmanned aircrafts from thousands of miles away, in other words, playing video games. But meanwhile, Labour MP John McDowell has said that over 3,000 civilians have been killed in Afghanistan as a result of drone attacks. And earlier in November this year, British Conservative lawmaker Mr. Crescenti, I can't pronounce his name, also warned of the number of civilian deaths from US drone strikes in Asian countries, quoting estimates that up to 885 innocent people have been killed in the attacks in Pakistan alone. I know we did cover that story earlier in the year, and you've been doing a lot on drones, Mike.
Well, actually, there was a panorama on Monday night. I think it was Monday night, covered this issue. Again, extrajudicial or judicial killings. These things need to be stopped. This is the same kind of mentality that supports people that want to kill journalists.
Just out of matter of interest, how was the BBC taking it? Were they supporting the use of drones, or
not really? They weren't making any comment on it. They were simply reporting on it.
Okay.
They're leaving it up to other people to comment on.
That's good.
Morocco is where the Friends of Syria meeting is happening.
Well done,
yeah,
Mike.
okay. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, I've got to thank someone for sending this to me today. over in France, there's a French teacher who has been suspended for asking her or his pupils to write suicide notes. A French teacher has been suspended for asking his group of 13-year-olds to write their own suicide note, sparking a row over whether the task was shockingly inappropriate or intrusive. Now, we've brought this up because it's happening also in France. Apparently, the unnamed teacher handed out homework notes to pupils at a college in Montmoreau-Saint-Cybard, which is in southwest France, and the note read, "You've just turned 18 and you've decided to end your life. Your decision appears irrevocable. As a final effort, you decide to explain the reasons for your act. In setting out your self-portrait, you describe all the disgust you feel for yourself. Your text must bring up certain events in your life at the root of this feeling." Well, shocked parents wrote immediately, obviously, to the headmaster and the local authority, expressing how horrified they were that their children of 13 and 14 were being given this type of homework. Local authority have said they've already had to cope with two suicide pupils this month already. So it was very, very inappropriate. But the pupils don't want this teacher sacked. They say he's a very good teacher, or he or she is a very good teacher. But it's not very good, is it?
No,
going mental.
Well, we believe that this is a campaign being run against children.
Absolutely.
In the UK, this is happening in our schools. We're having children taken into drama groups where they're making films about death and suicide. And this is a fundamental problem within our education system at the moment. Yeah. And we've had Tim Rogers on the UK Column Live once or twice talking about what's going on in South Wales around his Rudry Parish Hall, and this is a prime example of this kind of training. It's extremely destructive, and this is why we believe this is why we're seeing suicide clusters in South Wales and in Belfast and in Aberdeen and other places. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Next of all, we've got the Defamation Bill. Now, I have to say that this, in combination with Leveson, is a very dangerous and very powerful act from government. Basically, the Defamation Bill, whereas Leveson's looking at the press, the Defamation Bill is looking at the internet in particular. The current proposals, according to the Telegraph, will force websites to take down material which a claimant says is defamatory if the author cannot be contacted. So if you're a publishing website like the Column, and somebody writes an article which somebody considers to be defamatory, then it would be our responsibility to take that down. So MPs and peers are warning that this risks having a chilling effect on, in quotes, on the freedom of speech. So, you know, we need to be paying attention to the Defamation Bill. We need to be getting it stopped. This is about censorship. Very, very dangerous. At least as dangerous as Leveson.
Why is Brian Cox? What's Brian?
Brian
Cox doing?
Brian Cox is talking about it because he's he heads up a group of scientists who gave a presentation to Downing Street with 60,000 name petition because they are asking for a public interest defence to be added. Okay. Now, this is something that the Lords have asked for, an amendment to the bill to allow a public interest defence. But Cameron, it remains to be seen whether he's going to buy that or not. But so Brian Cox was presenting a 60,000 name petition asking for the public interest defence to be added to the bill. We watch. Yeah. But I suggest that people don't wait, that people make their views clear to anybody that has any influence on this bill. Yeah, definitely. Sorry, and the next thing was Maria Miller, because if there's anything that gives us a warning about the intent of Leveson, this is it, because the Telegraph, I believe it was, this is a Mirror article, but I believe it was the Telegraph was about to point out that she was still fiddling her expenses. And the Telegraph journalist that attempted to speak to her got a rebuff from her, basically saying that, you know, she is pretty influential in this whole Leveson process, and really they should really think twice about whether they pick on her. perhaps he should consider asking his superiors whether he wants to go ahead with the story or not. Now, does that not tell us all? Does that not tell us all we need to know about what Leveson is about?
Absolutely. I mean, we had something similar with Patrick, didn't we? And Ben Fellows as well. Just get little warnings here and there.
Well, in the case of Patrick and Ben Fellows, the warning came from Ken Clarke, but via his officials at the Cabinet Office. Yeah. So he was actually using, just like Angelini did in Scotland with regard to Holly Gregg, he was actually using civil service time, taxpayer-funded civil service time, to make threats against a journalist. So this is an extreme. I cannot stress enough how dangerous this Leveson and the Defamation Bill in combination are, and people need to start making sure that their so-called representatives understand how they feel about it, and get this stuff knocked on the head.
Agreed.
Okay.
Oh, this stinks as well, this story.
Right, well, so a suicide note has now been found from Jacinta Saldana. It has just appeared. What's absolutely clear in the press is that her family are still not clear as to why she apparently took this action, if she did. But this note has appeared. I'm particularly concerned that Keith Vaz is involved in this, because every time somebody seems to have something, some complaint to make about an institution or the government, Keith Vaz seems to be straight in there to try and contain. He was hanging around the family quite a lot. I think he was photographed. He is being presented in the press as their representative. I would say that that he is there in order to limit their complaints and contain the backlash from the family. And I would just like to make it clear that the column, we support the family, and we support if they feel they need support from the press. Well, this particular press supports them absolutely, and if anybody knows them, please pass that message on. Have there been any photos? Has there been any pictures, or anybody seen this suicide note? Has it been released to the press? It'd be interesting to see if it's in her writing. This is a very good question, because if we just look at the Independent article again, it says, nurse at the centre of Kate Middleton phone call hoax tragedy left suicide note to family. That is the only point in the story that a suicide note is mentioned. And so, stinks, doesn't it? It's shocking. There's something very, very strange about this story, and the way that it's being played out. The family needs support. We do, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. David Cameron, change of heart on secret courts policy. He hints. The reason I wanted to flag this story up is purely the fact at the end of the story that Kenneth Clarke is still pushing the secret court agenda. This is his baby. Now, Kenneth Clarke was moved out of the Ministry of Justice some time ago and made minister without portfolio, which means that he rows around and bullies everybody on any subject. But this particular issue, which seems to be fairly central to justice, it seems to be no longer within the remit of the Ministry of Justice. It has stayed with Kenneth Clarke, who's moved to the Cabinet Office. So I just wanted to highlight that fact, and with regard to Cameron's U-turn, well, I don't think there'll be a U-turn. No. The bill is proposing that ministers can order judges to hear sensitive evidence in secret, and the question is whether judges or ministers should have that final say. I don't think so. I don't think Cameron will be changing his mind on that. Okay, next, North Korea. Yeah, they've sent something up to space, haven't they? Well, they're saying it's a satellite, but America doesn't believe them. Well, of course they wouldn't, because North Korea is refusing to play ball with the global financial elite. So, of course, North Korea is a pariah on this planet, along with one or two other countries. On the other hand, it continues to try to develop technologically, and it's now stuck a satellite, after a number of attempts, has managed to get a satellite into orbit, apparently. So well done to them. NORAD, of course, and the United States are nervous, because if Korea is able to spy on them as easily as they're able to spy on Korea, then you know, it puts them in a difficult position.
Interesting though, there was on the way in this morning I was listening to the radio, and there was no issue about the spying thing. The main issue was that they could be testing weapons that capability to hit America.
Right.
That's the spin the BBC are putting on.
That is a spin. Now it should be noticed that in this article here in The Guardian it says North Korea is believed to have weaponized enough plutonium for about half a dozen rudimentary nuclear weapons. Whoopie-doo. How many nuclear weapons has the United States got? Does the United States really think that this is a threat? So I don't believe that any nation with any kind of sanity would be launching half a dozen nuclear warheads at the United States. No. So, you know, and in the meantime, of course, the United States is continuing with its secret space program that nobody really knows what it's about. So this is the Mystery Mini Shuttle, which is now back in space. The US Air Force launched an unmanned spacecraft aboard an Atlas V rocket. The Mystery Shuttle, according to the Telegraph, because nobody actually knows what it's about, is about a quarter of the size of NASA's old space shuttles. So it can obviously carry some kind of payload, but they don't know whether it's going to be used for spying or what the purpose of it is. Right. That's what the actual shuttle looks like.
Okay.
What can you say?
Not a lot.
No more to be said on it, really. Okay.
Where are we going now?
Right, where are we going now? Police academies.
Oh,
We're going to get police academies to train have-a-go hero. Are you have-a-go hero, Lou?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right, so members of the public should be trained at police academies to deal with crime and antisocial behaviour, a think tank has said. No. So what's this about? Well, basically, they're worried, they say, about the fact that the number of people making citizens arrests is declining. That we don't have the guts, apparently, to get involved in.
So that means we can get training on how to arrest judges? Sorry.
It could be.
Yes,
but
okay.
I suspect that actually what's going to happen is that people will go into these police academies, these so-called police academies, and get training on how not to arrest people, because they don't really want us making citizens arrests. They don't really want us understanding that the power of arrest is a constitutional power that applies to everybody equally, policeman or not. And the only thing that the policeman or woman has that we don't is insurance in the event that a false arrest is made. If we make a false arrest, we are liable for that. Yeah. We have to take responsibility for our actions, and we could end up in court. Police have insurance to make sure that they don't really have to worry about whether they have to take responsibility for their actions. And then
you've got to think with the that some of the training could be sort of NLP, common purposey anyway, if they're trying to.
I think that is a danger. Yes, yeah. Yes. Okay. We're whizzing through here.
We are.
So some economic stuff now. So more pressure on global wages can backfire. This is from a Greek newspaper. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. No, I'm not. No, I'm sorry. Basically, it's saying if rising income gaps are at least partly responsible for the global credit crisis, governments and companies should be wary of squeezing wages yet again to help rebuild their finances. You know, it should be fairly common sense to people that if we are living in a so-called post-industrial consumer economy, that if consumers have no money, then we can't buy anything.
No.
And therefore the economy continues to collapse. Does that not seem like common sense?
Yeah, I think my 7-year-old probably worked that one out as well.
Well, so, you know, the article is highlighting that since 1970, the share of GDP in the United States, they're talking about the US, but it could apply to any Western democracy, I suppose. While the share of US GDP going to wages and salaries, it has fallen 10% to about 43% since 1970. So less and less GDP notional GDP is going in salaries, and more is going into profits for big corporates. Corporates that don't actually care too much about nations or people. And it's saying that some 26 of 30 countries covered by the OECD's report have shown a falling labour share to national income since 1990. So, you know, again, this is common sense. And what's the response from the elites? The response, again, the Fed is going to revamp its bond buying program again. So we've just had QE3, Quantitative Easing 3. We're now going for QE4.
The Fed still hasn't been audited either, has it?
No.
No, it still hasn't. Okay.
No.
Right.
So it's going to revamp its bond purchases. The goal is to keep downward pressure on long-term interest rates and encourage individuals and businesses to borrow and spend more, right? So again, let's not produce anything and produce any real value that we can then spend in the economy. Let's just keep borrowing more and more and more money. This is their only solution. It's 4 or 5 years since the financial crash. Nothing has changed. The situation's only getting worse. The United States is heading for its fiscal cliff in January, and they're not making any progress. What can you say? Just one other a story that I didn't manage to get in here, a slide I didn't manage to get in.
Okay.
But Mark Carney, who's going to be the next head of the Bank of England.
The Canadian. The
Canadian guy, yeah,
right.
That's right. So he's, you know, while the Fed is busy printing money in order to try and get people to spend and borrow more, right? Carney is saying that we should stop worrying about inflation and consider economic output instead. So I think that this is a very interesting story, because he's indicating that basically he believes the Bank of England isn't capable of controlling interest rates anymore, that perhaps they should change their policy and not worry about interest rates too much. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and make a prediction that in 2013 we're going to see interest rates rising significantly, and that is a pretty bad situation for anybody that's in arrears on their mortgages. So what should people be doing? Well, there are no quick fixes to this problem, but we've got to be pressuring our MPs and government to do the right thing, and the right thing is I've indicated it many times: break up the banks, put them into administration, sort out the debt, do what Iceland did. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Glass-Steagall. Yep. Do what Iceland did. Massive infrastructure rebuilding program. Get the economy, a productive economy, going again, and that means training new apprentices, and so on. What about gold? Should people be buying gold and silver, do you think? Just your thoughts. On the spot now. No, look. Gold and silver, they're considered a hedge against inflation. It's never a bad thing to have, but you know, governments are governments, and in the past we know that some governments have decided that they would confiscate gold that's held by private individuals. Yeah. In this country, if you buy more than £10,000 worth of gold in a year, then the government gets notified. Okay. Okay. So anyway. Okay. Health stuff then. Yes, you handed me this earlier. A hospital in Pittsburgh, UPMC, it's the #1 ranked hospital in the whole of Pittsburgh, has been, well, their non-medical staff have been seeking to join a union because of their terrible, the low wages and the pay. So what does UPMC do? Well, instead of giving them some more money, they've opened up a food bank for these people, these non-medical staff. So rather than having a little bit extra in their purses end of each week, the hospital is going to have a food bank specifically for its workers. It's just shocking. It's pretty warped. It's really warped. Isn't it? It is really warped. So yeah, that was a bit of a shocker, that story. So it was found on Blog H website. So quite an interesting website there. So take a look. Okay. Vaccines. There's been an outbreak of chickenpox. 97% of the people who've come down with chickenpox have been vaccinated. It's in a little county called Vigo County in America, Indiana, and it's got the largest outbreak of chickenpox. An epidemiologist. How do you pronounce it? Okay, a doctor has confirmed that out of the cases analysed, 97% of the children had been vaccinated.
Vigo County has now seen over 84 cases of the chickenpox, marked by itching and blisters, since September, and the count is now well over 100. To cover up the wild increase for the disease, public health officials are blaming one unvaccinated child as the cause of the the outbreak. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. They've all bar one child has been vaccinated.
So you got to. I mean, the first point is why are people being vaccinated for chickenpox?
Exactly.
Anyway, you know, whenever my children had chickenpox, everybody round about was saying, "Can I bring my kids round?"
Exactly. Absolutely. Get it over and
they
done
had
with.
chickenpox parties. So
yeah.
So it's not something to be concerned about, I don't think.
Absolutely
but you know, it is just quite ironic.
The thing to be concerned about is the actual vaccine.
I agree. Yes. Okay. Okay.
Right. A word from Bill Maloney, actually. He pointed us in the direction of what's going on, obviously, with Savile at the moment. But there are two more suspected stars. I did blurt it out yesterday that one had been arrested in his 60s. But a police officer has tweeted household names. Two household names have been arrested by the police.
Right, and a police officer has tweeted.
A former detective who helped expose the Jimmy Savile sex abuse has been told the names of the two more high-ranking stars, and he put a tweet out. So
no doubt in not too distant future, Twitter will be getting it in the neck once again for that.
Exactly.
And then we've got this article, which in the Independent, 500 victims, 200 allegations. Full shocking scale of Jimmy Savile's alleged sexual abuse to be covered up. Revealed. And of course, we do believe that there is a cover-up going on.
Of course. And Bill Maloney's pretty sure that. I must say, actually, Bill Maloney has a new documentary out. It's going to be premiered here on the UK Column Live next week. So do keep in tune for that, and also check out Pie and Mash website.
So he's hoping to have that finished at the end of the week.
He's editing now, and it should be all finished by the end of the week. And we're going to get the first look here, and we'll bring it to you straight away.
Okay, but on the Savile issue, it's pretty clear they are going to limit this investigation to celebrity people in celebrity or media people. Yeah. It's not going to go near politics at all, it seems. And
$2 million's already been spent on it.
So once again, do we say that the corporate media has let us down?
I'd say so.
Perhaps. We'll see. Okay.
Yes. Okay, a group of Canadian and French scientists have uncovered more evidence at the prolific use of antibiotics in animal agriculture. And it's contributing to the development of drug-resistant superbugs, and this is a study which has been published in the Journal for Environmental Quality. Feeding antibiotics to healthy animals is a common practice in the industrial agriculture because it's believed to reduce the rates of illness and to result in larger animals and therefore higher profits. But health advocates have raised concern that the practice may accelerate the evolution of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. These bacteria might evolve directly in the animals' bodies, becoming superbugs if they somehow spread to humans, just like E. coli did. In addition, large quantities of unmetabolized antibiotics are segregated in farm animals' manure, which is then used as fertilizer all across the country. So,
and of course we eat the meat, so we get it as well.
Exactly, and then it goes down into the soil. So
our fruit and vegetables get contaminated with it. Well, it's brilliant, isn't it?
Exactly. Natural news again for that article.
Okay, and finally.
The
Daily Bell.
The Daily Bell has said the Power Elite banned classic books in America, and they are banning Catch in the Rye has been dropped from the US school curriculum. To Kill a Mockingbird and
a whole bunch of other
classics, have basically been dropped.
And what are they being replaced with?
They are being replaced with non-fiction books in an effort to ready people for the workplace.
Fahrenheit 451.
Yep.
That's going to really enthrall the student population in the United States, and it's going to encourage them to get involved in education and and teach themselves some new stuff.
I'll just quote what the Daily Bell have said. The reason they know this is happening because the top elites are increasingly turning to the bluntest weapons in their fight to maintain power. Economic depression, military conflict are all modern tools of repression and control. So
the next step in dumbing us down even further.
Exactly.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're done.
We are. Thank you very much for sticking with us today. Brian will be back tomorrow, and if you're liking what we're doing, please subscribe to the ukcolumn.org.
And if you're already subscribing, please pass the word and get more people watching.
Oh yeah, and we never mentioned 12, 12, 12. I wanted to do it at 12 minutes past 12,
but you blew it.
But I blew it, yeah. So the last time we're ever going to see numbers in that sequence in our lifetime. Thank you.
All right, thanks.